Okay, so I don't really know where to begin with this video, but I'm kind of just going to freestyle it as I often tend to do. The video that I just recently posted, basically talking about this article that I came across on the internet, where it was basically giving women tips on how to tell if a man is just interested in her simply just for sex. So two friends of mine, two female friends, messaged me and were telling me about a situation that they had gone through where they met a guy, thought they hit it off really well, connected and all that stuff, and one thing led to another. They ended up in the bedroom. Pants were dropped, penis was inserted in someplace, and after that it just didn't go anywhere, and it left a lot of my two female friends kind of baffled, because they were under the impression that that whole situation was going to progress further than just the sex. I kind of just wanted to touch up on that and everything, because when I came across the article, I found it to be very interesting, because they did state a lot of points that, like if a guy, for example, doesn't take the time to get to know your personality, and just his mind is always about sex, and every conversation that you guys have ultimately ends up being about sex, essentially. Also, other stuff that was mentioned in the article was if a guy, if he's making suggestive comments pertaining to anything about you, whether it's about your physique or anything, or as soon as he sees you, he automatically starts instigating some kind of physical connection or some kind of physical interaction with you or whatever, or he hints at it in that kind of way. Times are changing now, and like guys are like, there are still a lot of thirsty guys out there. Like the examples that I just gave primarily come from thirsty guys who can't contain themselves, and they're the type of guys who do like the cat calls, where like they'll see a girl on the street and they'll be like, hey baby, what's up, you looking mad sexy, bitch, like shit like that, you know what I mean? They make it like more obvious, right? But then there's those guys who are very subtle and very discreet about their approach, to the point where often they don't display any of those obvious signs that would indicate that he's interested in sex. And sometimes they're very manipulative, for lack of a better term, in regards to obtaining pussy from a female, you know what I mean? Like they'll butter her up and tell her what she wants to hear and all this stuff, and it ultimately ends up hurting the girl, because she puts all of her emotions and all of her investment into it, and ultimately it leads nowhere, pretty much. So yeah, the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I kind of just wanted to share my own personal, not really personal experiences, but like kind of share experience in a sense that kind of will help you grasp the concept of this situation a little bit better. This is strictly for the females, right? Like a lot of men are probably gonna hate me for this, because it kind of goes against the whole like sleeping with a guy on the first date. And I know in the past I've said like there's nothing wrong with sleeping with somebody on the first date. I still I'm kind of indifferent about the subject a little bit, you know what I mean? Like before I was all like, oh yeah, hell yeah, like if both people are like in a point in their lives where like they just want to have fun and do whatever, then by all means. And while I still do believe that to a degree, I do feel as though, with that being said, like women have a lot more to lose in that situation than a man does, you know what I mean? Because back in the day, a man's sworn, like his duty was to spread his seed, so his legacy can continue on and stuff, and he can repopulate and all that kind of stuff, right? Whereas women were kind of like the vessel for the seed and all that jazz. A woman got the short end of the stick in that sense, because a man could like plant a seed wherever, and the woman had no choice but to bear the children and take care of him and support and nurture this child that was growing inside of her. She had to put up with that for 9 months. In addition to that, she was no longer attractive, isn't really the proper term for it. At that point, when she was bearing a child, she was no longer like a candidate for other males around. Like no male was gonna be like, oh, look at that pregnant bitch. I would so tap that, you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't do that. She was less attractive at that point, and also she was pregnant and carrying this child inside of her for 9 months, so there was more of a risk with the woman than there was for a man, because he just plants a seed. After that, his job is done. There's no, it doesn't devalue him in any way. Like if he busts a nut in some female or whatever like that, no one's gonna know the difference. As opposed to if a woman gets busted in, you know, a couple months later she's got a big ass belly and all that stuff, right? So that's neither here nor there. It's just a little example. But going back to the topic at hand, like, women still, like, to a degree, still have kind of that burden that's put on them. There's more at risk, and I think it's a subconscious hardwiring thing that happens from that era back in the day, which is still kind of prevalent today in a sense. It's an important thing for women to be selective, you know what I mean? Like, very selective, because of the fact that there is more of a risk for a woman than there is for a man. How does a woman really know how to choose? Like, how does she make that selection? How does she know that she's making the right choice? Because, like I said, there's those guys who are very obvious about their intentions, you know what I mean? Like, they just, whether they want to they try to conceal it or not, like, they it's hard for them too, right? Because they're so thirsty, they just want it because they're in withdrawal from it or whatever, or it's like a need. And like I said in the other video, it would take a complete moron who had no common sense to be completely oblivious to the fact that this guy just wants some ass, kind of thing. But then, like I said, like I mentioned in the other video, there's those guys who actually have, like, game, and, like, they know how to manipulate women and play to their emotions. It's kind of a trivial scenario, because it's like, yeah, he's not showing obvious signs, he's actually showing the sign of a nice guy, but is it really genuine? And then it creates a whole different set of problems, because if it is, because now by me saying this, like, by telling you all this, it's like, now you kind of look at it like, it's like, okay, this guy's a nice guy, but how do I know that he's not just putting on an act to get in my pants, kind of thing, you know what I mean? And, you know, for, like, I'm not gonna lie, some guys actually do put on an act. Guys can be jerks, and they can be assholes and stuff like that. So again, that's something that you have to be cautious of. And, like, that's not, like, even if, like, someone was like for example, that article where it's like, yeah, these are the sure ways that you'll know that a guy is playing you, or he just wants you for sex. And I'm like, no, it's not just you know, confined to those specific characteristics alone. You have to be wary of the overall picture. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a guy, I like sex, you know. If I can get it on the first date, cool. I've had sex on the first date, and I've actually even went on to pursue a relationship with some of the girls that I've had sex with on the first date. There was a girl that I was dating. I'm not gonna say her name or whatever, but when I first met her, right, obviously there was an attraction there. There was an immediate attraction, right? It wasn't love at first sight or anything like that. I don't believe in that shit, but there was definitely, like, an attraction there. I thought she was really cute. I could feel there was something between us, and so I went and, you know, I made a move, and I tried to, like, I just, you know, I got her number or whatever like that, and we started talking and getting to know each other and whatnot. I mean, I'll be 100% honest. Like, you know, sex obviously crossed my mind a couple of times, because she was fit. Like, she had a nice ass, you know, like, nice physique, nice hips and everything like that. So yeah, obviously sex crossed my mind and everything like that. You know, I'm a guy, right? It's normal. As we got to know each other more and more, like, I started to notice that, like those thoughts were actually, like, they were like other thoughts were surpassing my sexual thoughts, or my impure thoughts of her, because she would start doing things, and, like, it would subconsciously trigger something inside of me that was like, wow, this girl's really cool, right? Like, for example, if she came over, remember one time I had, like, a bunch of clothes, like, I had, like, a few clothes out, like sweaters and stuff like that, and we'd only been, like, seeing each other for a couple weeks, and she'd come over and she would just fold my clothes, like, just wouldn't say anything. I didn't ask her to do it or anything. She would just fold my clothes, and then she would just set them on the chair or whatever. And I hope this doesn't sound sexist, because that's not where I'm going with this. I'm not saying, oh, one way to impress me is to fold my clothes and stuff. No, that's not what I'm saying. But, like, you know, it was just those. It was just it kind of just triggered like a nurturing kind of motherly type of thing where it was just like, oh, this isn't her house, it's not her clothes, but yet she felt inclined to just fold my stuff. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, that for some reason that kind of just really hit home for me. She knew, like, for example, she knew that I had like a big thing for Batman. I'm a Batman freak kind of, right? And she would like do her research and like call herself Catherine Kane, and even I didn't even know who Catherine Kane was at the time. I was like, who? And she'd be like, yeah, figure it out. So I'd go and I'd research, oh, Catherine Kane, oh snap, this girl did her homework, man. All the good gestures and stuff like that was this, and then the sex was here, and then when I got to the sex, it was like, wow, like it's on even playing fields right now. Like I don't feel, I don't like I feel as though there's a lot more to it than just the sex now, because of all the things that like that she did, right? You know, like just all the stuff that stuck with me. Like normally, like when a guy has the mentality to like hit it and quit it, he's overlooking any of the other stuff. Like, so it's like he's just at this level where it's just sex, right? And you know, most girls don't even get an opportunity to raise this level up, right? Because they're also in it for the sex. They're hoping for more, but because whatever this guy has said to make her bring her sex levels up, it's working, because now she's not making him earn it. She's not showing that she has more to offer than just her vagina. You know what I mean? Like, which is essentially what you women should be doing, right? When I was younger, like I was always about just like sex or like fooling around or whatever, and I would do whatever I could in my power to just, you know, within reason. Like, I didn't do anything unlawful or anything like that, but yeah, I would bring girls over and like we'd fool around, and then that would be it. Like, I wouldn't have it. They would try to, like, you know, start a relationship with me, and I just wasn't interested, you know, because I'm just like, I don't feel as though there's anything else for me to gain out of this, because you haven't shown me that, right? Because when a man is just focused on sex and sex alone, once he gets it, mission accomplished, right? But if his focus is on sex, but you make him work for it, during that journey and during that process, he's gonna come to realize, or hopefully, or he'll have even a more of a chance to realize that you have a lot more to offer than just your vagina, because like, you know, you'll do certain things for him, like, and you actually have to show your personality and your character. You can't just like, yes he's working for it, but at the same time you have to show him what he's working for, right? Most women just feel like, yeah, I'm gonna let you work for this pussy, and they don't do shit, and then they wonder why he didn't want to wait, because it's like, if all I'm waiting for is sex, and I'm not getting any of the nice stuff in between that, and I'm not referring to sex in that regard, I'm referring to, like, you know, nice gestures, being nurturing and warm and like loving and all that stuff like that, you know what I mean? Showing that you're a woman and that you care and you're independent and all that stuff that encompasses what a man requires from a woman, you know, especially like if he's a much older man. Like, I'm not really referring to teenagers, because teenagers' hormones are raging like crazy, so all they're about is sex. So it's a lost cause in that sense, right? But I mean, if you're kind of just sitting on the sidelines and making him work and you're not meeting him halfway, then you're a lost cause too. Because, you know, I'm not going to work for something if I feel as though it's not worth it. So, I'm not going to work for something if I feel as though it's not worth it and I'm not getting anything in return, and I'm putting in all this effort only to get shat on during the journey. I'm gonna just be like, fuck this, you know what I mean? I came with a specific goal in mind, and I'm gonna get it elsewhere, you know what I mean? Or I'm gonna seek, you know, a better opportunity or whatever. So something to keep in mind, something to consider for you ladies out there. I hope this all makes sense to some degree. It's kind of just been a little bit on my mind, because like I said, two of my friends have kind of gone through it already, and not a good feeling, I'm sure. But But yeah, I hope that kind of shed some light on the situation. The forum is now open for discussion, so if you guys want to elaborate on any of the points that I made, or if you kind of just want to cut me up and say that I'm full of shit, then feel free to do either or. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, other than that, thank you for listening, and I'm your boy Tactics. Peace, and I'm out.